Welcome to another edition of The Monitor, the May 22nd, 2026 edition, and we're going to call this Controversy versus Clarity. And we're going to call it Controversy versus Clarity because there's a bit of controversy in the city, and we'd like to give you some clarity. We're going to start with a case that's in the news today on a Jamiron Banks. Jamiron Banks is an individual who was arrested on the 20th after an hours-long standoff with SWAT. He was in the attic with a gun and a juvenile who was also on an electronic monitoring device, but not one of our members. The juvenile was on an electronic monitoring device through the city of New Orleans' $4 million taxpayer-funded juvenile program. As of this morning, a full 2 days later, we have confirmed that NOPD still has no access to any data relative to that device. Any reports that may have taken place or anything at all, not just NOPD, no one. There is zero transparency, zero proactive work, zero coordination, zero clarity. But with Jamiron, we have all the details. Not only do we have all the details, but we've put them in a way that even the public can view. A lower version, but enough. As law enforcement, ADAs, judges, and others log in, they have much greater access. They can see much more detail. But this doesn't require a login. The judges get their notice via email. The DA gets his notice via email. We go beyond the law, and we send them to the clerk. We send them to the sheriff. In New Orleans, we have a unique situation where we actually have two DA systems. We have the city DA, but we also have the AG's office, who also prosecutes cases alongside of the DA. In cases where they are the prosecutor, they get them. And interestingly, they took advantage of our redundancy capabilities. And they've asked us to send them to people like Troop NOLA and others that are involved in these cases, which we've done. In the case of Jamiron Banks, he is a regular Orleans Parish DA case out of Division B. Jamiron Banks was enrolled in the ASAP, a member program, the Assured Supervision Accountability Program. They are a member of our association. They were enrolled in our ComplyWise offender management system on February the 26th, 26. Approximately 1 month later, Jamiron Banks began violating the conditions of his release, which were 24-hour home incarceration, with the exception that he could go to school. On March 23rd began his odyssey into violating the court's order. From March 23rd until May the 20th, he accumulated 49 violation reports. Each was sent to the court. Each was sent to everybody in our loop. The clerk, the sheriff. He was captured in the attic, as I said, with a gun and a juvenile who is also in a different program that's not a member of our group and has no transparency, and repeatedly shows up in the news as a horrifying problem. Just 1 week ago, we were working with NOPD to help them to pin down 4 juveniles in a stolen car with stolen guns, wearing city-funded, taxpayer-funded, juvenile court wristwatches. We still don't know if they've got what they need. It's just a muddy, murky hole, and they can't get anything out of it. And remember, this is paid for by the taxpayer. Our member programs do not consume taxpayer money, and they provide an absolute, transparent, and accountable solution. The problem with Jamiron Banks and Division B is actually isolated to Division B. You see, the ComplyWise offender management system is designed to do instant notification. When the auditor puts in the audit and hits submit, it automatically goes everywhere. It logs it in multiple places, both the software creating the email, sending it to the email software, and the email software sending it out. In the case of Division B, there's a series of events that led to why the DA didn't get his emails. But I want to start with the understanding that we created a process that makes it possible for everybody, anybody. We were able to open up the system and provide a copy of every email instantly to one of the ADAs that worked for the DA that he put as a liaison with us. That ADA was receiving every email for every violation until May 27th, 2025, when the ADA sent me a notice, a text, and said, Matt, I was right. I was right. That's a lot. Please take me out of the loop, and let's discuss them individually via text when necessary. I do know it's a lot. I don't condone not having a catch-all. I think a catch-all is just one more layer of redundancy, a layer we could have used for this. On September of 2025, pretty normal procedure for us, we send out a notice to Division B and to the DA, reminding them of all of the qualities of this process and the importance of learning how to log in. Very simple, easier than Netflix, and it gives you everything you need. We didn't get any response back from anybody, and B, we didn't get any response back from the DA's office, but that's normal. We did the same thing with the AG's office, and of course they took advantage of the training. All of their ADAs get their emails, and they have a catch-all. They have one person who everything goes to, and she makes sure they all go out. It's a great layer of redundancy. On top of that, they've requested that we send them to other people in the loop. Not necessarily required to be sent, but helpful. Extra redundancy. Works beautifully. On February 23rd of this year, the ADA from Division B approached our director and said, I'm having difficulty with our email. We informed ADA Krieger that they needed to contact their contact at the DA's office, Bob White. We followed up on the same day with a notice to Mr. White that they were having trouble. We received no response. We also, on that notice, said, hey, we can come over and train again anytime you want, just to make sure. On March the 30th, about a month later, another ADA from B, Butler, ADA Butler, requests assistance with the email. And we again asked them to get with Bob. And we received nothing. But we remind them, look, your username and password, which you have, allows you to go in and get immediate real-time live access. You see every report. It's not a matter of sending. They're there, live. You can see them as the public. You can't see the detail, but you can see the violations. And it's this simple. Go to asapgps.org. If you're the public, go down to the public view, click it. Go to the top right. There's a drop-down. Choose Analytics. Check the Orleans Criminal Court pie chart. It's there. There's a few choices, but it's the one for Orleans Criminal Court. When you hit that, it's a pie graph divided by division. If you hit the piece of pie for that division, it opens up every violation of every offender ever. If you go to the offender search button and hit it, it puts them in alphabetical order, and it's just that simple. That live and real-time thing serves in the event somebody loses a password for their email, or if you think there's something wrong and you just want to do research for your division. You see the AG, their office actually checks their divisions because there's a glitch at the front end. We don't have a clear way of determining if a defendant entering our program is an AG case. So the AG uses this defendant search list to see if any of their people are on it, and they notify us, hey, this is one of ours. That means we have to go back into the offender management system, make an annotation, so they start getting the emails. They can do it proactively. I'm not sure why the Orleans Parish DA can't. The second layer of redundancy is, like every other division, this judge got every violation to an email that we know she uses because she's responded in the past. She's responded on a defendant by the last name Costin That was one of them. And she responded to a note to her that the victim refused protection. They said they were okay, they understood. We'll come back to Costin. Jamiron Banks had violation reports going out to everybody, instantly, as required. Unfortunately, Division B had an issue with their ADA's email. We made a number of attempts to solve that. We also had it set up to where we had an individual at the DA's office with a catch-all. They got every violation. And a year ago, almost to the day, they asked to be removed from that because they said it was too much. These layers are designed to stop stuff like this. We're not trying to get people in trouble. We're not trying to blame. If we do this right, there is no blame. These redundancies are in place to ensure that when people do wrong, we can stop it immediately. And it goes beyond just reporting for us. Jaquise Mosen enrolled in March of 11th of this year. And through May 21st, and he's still active. He's received 45 violations. Brian Costin, I spoke a moment ago about him. Enrolled 228, deactivated May the 13th. 23 violations. The last one on May the 13th for being arrested and put in jail. On February the 10th, the victim refused the protection. That's the email we sent to the judge that she responded to. It's the same email that we send all the violations to. On 5/12, after many violations, the victim called our member program, the Assured Supervision Accountability Program, and said that the defendant had violated and had warrants, but she had no item number. On that same day, the Assured Supervision Accountability Program reached out to NOPD, and they confirmed the report. But they were able to the next day call back because no one could find the item number. On the 13th, we spoke with NOPD again. They had the item number, but there was no warrant because they had no access to the protective order. On the same day, May 13th, the Assured Supervision Accountability Program reached out to the court. But they also reached out to the AG's office, and they requested information on the protective order. They were able to determine there was a protective order, and we began coordinating with NOPD to be able to arrest him. We did all this. We connected the dots for the criminal justice system, and we sent reports. None of them were answered. On May the 13th, it was clear that the defendant knew something was up because he had let his battery get down to a critical low. That triggers immediately a different level of auditing for our program. It triggers what we call the immediate action response team. A dead battery, a strap tamper, a victim violation. We can go after that. The victim refused protection, so we didn't know where she lived. We weren't protecting her. We just told him he had to stay away. When she reported that he wasn't, we did our due diligence to try to get to the bottom. We were not able to get the item number. We were not able on the first day to get the protective order. But by the second day, we had all of that ironed out. And instead of waiting for the rest of the lumps to work their way through the system, we identified that immediate action low battery. We dispatched our own enforcement. We took him into custody, and we took him to the jail. All of these reports are in the record. They were all sent to the judge. They didn't go to the DA because we haven't been able to get the DA to correct their email problem in that division. Glenn Green, he has 32 violations. Tyron Hamilton, from February 25th through now, he has over 100 violations. But here's the problem. You see, this man has 24-hour home incarceration with exceptions. And it looks like he's taking his wife to work and his kids to school. But that's not one of his exceptions. We don't get to grant permissions. We only can report what we see. These violations are going over every day as violations. But we have numerous requests asking for the court to clarify this. We believe he's taking his children to school or picking them up, and we believe he's delivering his wife to work. But until they respond, we can't make a change, and all we can do is report it. This system was designed to make sure that when the conversation comes up, everything's documented. there's a glitch and a DA's not getting his emails, we can tell you why. Then we can fix it. But it's built to stop this from happening in the first place. The levels of redundancy are clear. When the judge is getting all of these violations and she's not seeing anything from the DA, shouldn't she say something? Louisiana statute RS 15-571.37 says, basically after receiving these violations, the judge may, on their own order, or by motion of the DA, issue a warrant. It's not a may issue the warrant, it's a may do it themselves or a may have the DA do it. But the warrant will be issued by the judge, depending on how it's brought to her. Does she do it herself, or does she have an ADA file a motion? It says upon the third finding of a violation, they shall remand this defendant. It doesn't say they got to keep them. It just says they have to have a hearing. And this works because this gives the judge an opportunity to correct bad behavior and the opportunity to give this person another chance. And when it works well, people get corrected. When you ignore it, they get charged with new crimes. We don't just have victims of armed robberies with Jamiron. We have Jamiron as a victim. We have the 3 juveniles that were running in his crew, one of them wearing a wristwatch that we know of. And they're ruined. Their lives are all ruined because they all believed the system didn't work. It did. It's all documented. I get that the DA did not solve the problem with their email, and we wish they would have. Thank God we keep a live list, constant live list, immediate. The second the audit is completed, it's in the system. If it's in the system, we got the proof. When we talk about this and we say, oh, they didn't send it. Oh, there's controversy. Let's be very clear. You can see all the way down to the finest molecule, all the way down to, oh, there's a miss. But I could show you, we tried to fix that with you. You can't tell me anything about that juvenile that was wearing the wristwatch laying next to this adult with a gun in the attic for a 8-hour SWAT standoff. Nothing. As of this morning, just before doing this taping, NOPD has nothing. They know nothing. Explain what that means. Jamiron, all these violation reports, no action from the court, doesn't matter. New Orleans, unbeknownst to them, they start getting these reports of these armed robberies, these Uber drivers being armed robbed by a gang of kids. NOPD has gone through extensive training with our programs. And one of the things we do, not just provide evidential proof of communication between the judge, the court, the program, the provider, the defendant, but we also provide a proactive approach. NOPD, without knowing any names, without knowing anything at all, can say, I have an armed robbery and it occurred at this corner. And they put that in the system. And the system will say, guess what? You have an ankle monitor there. They can now take that information, reach out to the provider, or in our case, because we've trained them, identify the software that's used to track the device and log in themselves. They can now investigate every move, gather all the evidence, and go seek a warrant. They were able to locate 3 crime scenes that this ankle monitor was at. Then they put a name to that ankle monitor. Then they did their investigation. They got their proof, all based on training we gave them, all without our help. We didn't even know they were doing it. We just kept sending violation reports that, by the way, correspond with these crime scenes. When our violation reports go out, there's not just words, there's pictures, there's maps, there's dots, there's proof. That the judge can see, that the DA can see. The public can't, but the others can. NOPD then took all of that evidence that they collected, still not having talked to us. They didn't need to. We trained them. And they went to the judge, a different judge, the chief magistrate judge, and they signed a warrant with the judge. The judge is so advanced in her operations with this program, she knew right away what was going on. And she reached out and said, I just signed the warrant, let's get him picked up. Why? Because this judge knows we'll get him ourselves if necessary, and we'll bring them to jail or to the court. But we also work closely with law enforcement because a lot of times they want to do it themselves. Depends on the nature of the case and the charge. In this instance, we reached out immediately to NOPD. We said, do we understand you're after him? Can we be of assistance? We did assist. We assisted in training the officers on the scene how to do what's called a live track. For those of you who wear ankle monitors, these things work. The live track gives them the ability to pinpoint his exact location in the house real time, no matter when he moves or where he goes to. They knew he was in the attic. We just wanted to make sure he didn't leave without them knowing, because under normal circumstances, these devices ping every minute or so, depending on your settings. And then they'll go into a mode where they may ping every minute, but they'll only upload every 30 minutes, unless you're in the person's file. But to make sure you're getting the most accurate track, you want to do a live track, which is a real-time watch it move across the screen. These are usually pinging every 30 seconds. This is what you do when you're going to capture somebody. Otherwise, you could find yourself always a minute behind them. NOPD used that, had the standoff, captured them. Took him to the jail. Used all the data, all of the pings, all of the proximity reporting capabilities to solve these crimes. They are alleged crimes, but there's a lot of proof. And now here we sit doing the post-mortem, looking at how did this kid get away with so many violations? And because this system has so much detail and so much accuracy and is so comprehensive that I can take you to the exact day the ADA told me to please stop sending all of the emails to them because it was too many. I can tell you the exact day we told that same coordinator, you got a problem with Divisions B email. And then again on another day, a few days later, a month later. I can show you where some ADAs reached out to us, asked for help, and we explained it's on your side. You have to get into your email. But we also explained to those ADAs, there's a live track here. You can do this through the live real-time software. Just log into your division and pull them up. You have the passwords, and you do use it. You see, everybody uses it. Law enforcement, state, local, federal, they breathe this stuff. They love this stuff. The only thing missing is the mandate. Everybody should be required to use it. And if you did, we wouldn't have this problem with this juvenile. Why is a $4 million taxpayer-funded program got these issues over and over? And I have the ability to prove that, yep, there's a glitch with the B's email, and we did everything we could to get you to fix it, but we still give you clarity because there's nothing stopping you from doing this work. It's all there. You can't do this with that juvenile program. Still, you captured this man 2 days later. It is very likely that this gang included this juvenile with this wristwatch. Were there any violation reports? Was he following the rules? Was his device charged? Was it active? Well, we know they didn't use it to capture the kid. We know they didn't use it to proximity report and find the kid at the scenes. We know they haven't done any of that because they can't get the data. Why is a company from Georgia, Teletrax, working on a $4 million no-bid contract in the city of New Orleans to provide to us exactly what we've always had? I start this in 2014 after the Domino's pizza delivery driver was murdered by juveniles in a city-run, taxpayer-funded program that nobody ever got to the bottom of. Judge blamed the sheriff blamed the judge, and everybody kicked the manufacturer back to Georgia. We actually use that same equipment today. You're not kicking them out now because it ain't the equipment. It's the process. And this process is clear. This isn't over. Roy Johnson shoots a man and kills him, a deputy. NOPD missed an opportunity. They had an opportunity to use the offender management system to determine which device he was on. That would have led them to this defendant 19 days earlier, where he could have been arrested for an armed robbery. We trained him again. We solved it. We see a glitch, we train, we solve. January 22nd this year, we have a juvenile wearing a wristwatch, Teletrax, $4 million, city of New Orleans, taxpayer-funded program, shoots a man 7 times in his back. 7 times. We had to work all hours of the night just to get through to Teletrax so they could tell the deputy, the NOPD officer, his battery was dead since the 18th. Nobody was tracking him. They couldn't give him any evidence of being at the scene. And they've never supplied evidence that they did a report. You see, the oldest trick in the book with electronic monitoring is they say, yeah, we did a report. There's a difference between an alert and a report. The alert is what the device sends to people like us. We have to investigate that alert, and we have to file a report. Most providers, if they say they're doing it right, they say they report everything. But they don't do a report on the ones that aren't violations. The only way to tell if every single alert was looked at is to have a report on them. The judge, the DA, they don't need to see the non-violations, but you should have those in your records. You see, in our ComplyWise offender management system, the auditor looks at the individual's alert and hits a button. Yes, a violation. No. No, logs it that you looked at it. Yes, opens up more detail that you report. This way we can clearly show you that in 2025, the Assured Supervision Accountability Program alone received over 60,000 alerts. But only 15,000 of those are violations. But you can receive a report for each. You know for a fact there were 60,000 alerts. You know for a fact each one was looked at, and you know for a fact only 15,000 were actual violations with documentation. If you want to audit that, you can. You can't audit this juvenile. You can't use proximity reporting to find a person who might be not following the rules. You can't do a dissection at the end to see where the ball was dropped. We don't know if we don't know if he had violations. That doesn't mean he didn't violate. We just don't know if anybody reported it. And when the manufacturer tells you we reported it, the only true answer is show me. And I don't want to see where you got a text. I want to see where you gave us a plain language report, not this line item list and say, that one, that's where he did wrong. That's what the manufacturers give. They'll give you a report of 1 minute pings every minute of every day between this many days. And those reports can be this big. And they highlight a single line item and say, that one was a report. Our process, the ComplyWise offender management system, gives you a written memo with the full details and supporting information, the communication from the offender, and the travel, the maps, all of the ping information, and even that line item. But instead of a page this big, it's on a single page, and it brackets out that section. We give them everything instantly. It's not like somebody's sitting there typing it all up. They fill out the form, they hit submit, it goes. They fill out the form, they hit submit, it goes. It is a very assembly line process. I'm going to say one more thing. It's been 2 days since the capture of the juvenile with the wristwatch. Nothing. New Orleans can't even get in. They don't know anything. 4 million taxpayer dollars. My program and our members cost our city nothing. Zero. We save lives, and we bring the proof. I appreciate that the DA said that he did not get emails in a Division B case. He is correct. But there's 2 things you should probably do. 1, start your catch-all again. Get that going again. That's what the AG does. They have a single person that gets them all. I get it, her volume was a little lower. But boy, is that a big safety net. And then address the problem with B's ADAs, and let's make sure they can get in. We've confirmed on our end that they can go to you. You just got to make sure they can get to them. And then you won't have any more problems. And then finally, I'm going to say this to the judge, who I actually respect and like this judge. I don't want to cause problems for anybody. But we have to stop this. When the only way to stop this is to make everybody use the one thing that gave you the ability to get this deep and find the exact answer. When we have a juvenile sitting right next to us that you still have nothing. If we have a problem in our city, it's not what we brought you. This free program that allows you to put bad providers in jail. You have a problem with a program that was awarded no bid for $4 million to a group in Georgia that you can't get on the phone. Arrest them. Thank you. I really don't like doing these podcasts. I am not trying to start problems for our city, but I've built something in the offender management system that's real and desperately needed. For the first time in the history of electronic monitoring, we can take you all the way to the finest grain instead of what you normally get, which is our juvenile program. One juvenile hiding in an attic with a gun, probably on an armed robbery crime spree. No data available. No histories, no understanding if they're doing wrong, nothing. Hidden behind a pretend veil of juvenile. 4 juveniles running around in a car just a week ago. Stolen car, stolen guns. Nothing. They get nothing. They can find nothing. This isn't transparency. This isn't clarity. That's controversy. Thank you. And all I hope for is that we can get this thing solved once and for all as a group. The AG works. They do it the right way. The DA can work and does in almost every single case. But there's little tiny glitches that a team effort would fix. If this judge says, I don't want these, they have to go to the DA, fine. Why wouldn't you want redundancy? And because the DA missed a piece, because there's a glitch for them, caused on their side, you missed an opportunity to catch it yourself. I don't see how that's good for anybody. More information sometimes is better. And we are dedicated to making sure that New Orleans, the place this was created, the place it was proven to work, leads the nation in bringing this type of solution to their community. Because the end of the wild, wild west electronic monitoring is here. And this debate proves it. I am proud that I built something so good that we could have this conversation. Thank you. See you next time.